Good afternoon. Getting right down to business here. We're doing it live, doing more at 4 weekday afternoons, right after Guy Benson at 3 and just before the 790 KBC News Blitz at 5. It's Mottek On Money, live on the air right here in 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at kbc.com. And yes, the on-demand Mottek On Money podcast, kbc.com, Apple iTunes, YouTube, and all of your favorite podcast platforms. Strong finish to the week on Wall Street with the tech-heavy NASDAQ closing out at an all-time high. The Magnificent 1 and the Magnificent 7 tech stocks. NVIDIA closed up nearly $2 to a record high, just shy of $183 a share. Chip stocks like NVIDIA rallied in reaction to President Trump's announcement that he'll exempt companies from his planned semiconductor tariffs if they've committed to making their computer chips here in the U.S., while putting a tariff of about 100% on chips and semiconductors from outside the USA. The Dow came in for a closing gain of 207 points, and the S&P 500 ended just below its all-time high, closing up nearly 50 points. I'll discuss the latest market action and big tech news today with the top tech analyst nowadays, and that would be Daniel Ives, Global Head of Technology Research at Wedbush Securities, which happens to be headquartered right here in Southern California. The Los Angeles Business Federation LA BizFed Institute continues to focus on the LA economy and rebuilding from this year's firestorms. Another important Build Up LA conference is coming up next week. We'll get a preview on that and an update later this hour from Kevin Harbour, the president of the LA BizFed Institute. But first, joining us live now, the biggest name on the LA business scene, philanthropy and civic engagement, and that would be Rick CARUSO, business leader, civic leader, leader in philanthropy, entrepreneurship. The list goes on. Developer of the most popular shopping destinations here in Southern California, including the Grove, Americana at Brand, Commons at Calabasas, Palisades Village, Waterside at Marina Del Rey. Rick CARUSO is currently leading the Steadfast LA initiative to rebuild the fire-ravaged areas of the Palisades, Malibu, and Altadena. And he ran it for mayor a few years ago. He had the support of all the big business organizations here. Rick CARUSO, thank you very much for joining us live here this afternoon.
Great talking to you, Frank. Thanks for having me on.
Wonderful to have you with us. Thank you very much for taking this call live with us here. And we follow your social media feed very, very closely. And you've been in the news this week, and some more news related to Steadfast LA on the ongoing rebuilding. Give us an update on what's happening.
Well, thank you, Frank. Listen, we announced a great initiative this week on Wednesday. It's the Small Business Initiative. And through the generosity of Bank of California and their CEO, Jared Wolf, they donated $1 million to support small businesses. We formed a partnership with Bank of America, and we're going to be able to help small businesses get reopened in Palisades, Malibu, and Altadena. We had just a wonderful couple, Gordon and Shirley Wu, who was on, that had the pharmacy in the Palisades, and talked to them on CNBC streamlining and live streaming rather. And they're a perfect example where they were in that community for over 35 years. The local pharmacy, everybody knew them, and they lost their business. It was burnt to the ground. We want to get them reopened. And as you know, 90% of the businesses in LA County are small businesses. They're the backbone of our economy. And especially in these areas that have been devastated, you need the small businesses not only to help the economy, but it brings back that sense of community. You know your pharmacist, you know the person that's making your coffee, and when you see people in the morning and you go to the local bakery, whatever the case is, all of those things are so critically important. So I'm excited about it. We already have about 100 people who have asked for applications for a grant. We're going to grant up to $50,000 per applicant to help their businesses, and we're off and running. And if people are interested, they go to steadfastla.com and go to the Small Business Initiative, and they can learn about how to apply for a grant.
On there live with Rick CARUSO, zooming out to the big picture in the fire-ravaged areas. Give us your assessment of how the recovery is going. How many permits have finally been approved now, and your update on what's happening in Altadena as well as the Palisades and Malibu.
Well, I think I share everybody's frustration. It's going too slow, and the city needs to get boots on the ground, get plan checkers actually out to the Palisades, get plan checkers actually out to Altadena. Malibu's different. It's more concentrated, which makes it easier, and cut through more of the red tape and give people a sense of urgency and a sense of hope to get their businesses or their homes rebuilt. I mean, just not enough is being done. We're busy at the Village getting cleaned up, ready to reopen. We'll reopen next year, and we'll have all of the businesses reopening with us. Most of all the businesses. A couple won't, which is fine. And we got some new exciting tenants coming in, like Elise Walker. So there's some good things happening out there. We're pushing hard on the park. What gives me a lot of hope, Frank, and what I'm very bullish about the future of LA and Altadena and Malibu is, frankly, the private sector leaning in, like Bank of Cal is, like Amazon has been with us, or Parsons, all of the members of the Steadfast board. The private sector, the innovation, the sense of urgency, that's what's going to bring these areas back. And everybody's working hard to do that in spite of how I think it's slow in the city or the county.
On the Air Live with Rick Caruso. It was a big week for business conferences. You mentioned the CNBC Small Business Playbook Conference. We missed you yesterday at the LA Chamber State of LA Business event, where we heard some important keynote information, as well as great panels there, too. How would you assess the state of LA business at the moment?
Well, I know it, from our properties, Frank, and our properties, and I don't mean to sound overly optimistic or whatnot or paint an overly rosy picture, but the reality is our properties are continuing to see growth in terms of attendance, sales per square foot, and one of the most important metrics that you and I have talked about is the demand for space, the amount of retailers that want to open new stores or expand their stores. And frankly, we're very lucky in our portfolio. We're 100% leased. We have more demand than we can handle. And we've got retailers that want to expand, and we're trying to get creative on freeing up space for them to expand. So we're doing very well. I think part of that is we create a very pleasant environment on our properties, and we have great retailers, great restaurants at our properties. But we also ensure that they're very safe and they're very clean. And in a city that doesn't feel clean and doesn't feel safe, people are gravitating to the Grove or the Americana or our other properties, Calabasas, whatever, the Commons of Calabasas, because they're great environments. And, I think that's a real missed opportunity for the restaurants and retailers in Los Angeles, that they are dealing with unprecedented crime, and they're dealing with dirty streets, and they're dealing with homelessness on the sidewalks and encampments. And it just shouldn't be that way and doesn't need to be that way. And all you have to do is go to a neighboring city like Culver City and see what they've done. The streets are clean, the restaurants are full, the retail is vibrant, there's office buildings that are full, there's great energy to it. And but they take a lot of pride in their city, and we need to start doing that in LA City. Clearly not being done to the extent it should be. But I think overall business is good. Now, what's happening around me, other than we monitor obviously daily what's happening in the market, what's happening in the retail world, but I do worry about some of the small businesses throughout Los Angeles.
On the Air Live with Rick Caruso, and on the leadership point here, you promised you'd let us know your decision by the end of the summer, and it's hard to believe we're approaching mid-August here. It's been a while since we've chatted behind live microphones, and since then, the former Vice President Harris announced she will be not running for California governor, and Lieutenant Governor Kounalakis today says she's not running for governor. Any decision yet on whether you'll be running for governor or mayor of the City of Angels?
I haven't, Frank, and it's not the end of summer yet, but I haven't. We're continuing to work on it. I've got a small but mighty political team that's working on it, and we're looking at both paths. And there was an interesting development today with the lieutenant governor, and we share, some similarities as being, children from grandparents that immigrated here, and I think she's been, working hard for the state. And she made a decision to run for treasurer, and that certainly opens up the field even more. So it creates some opportunities for me, but I'm going to play both of these things out, get the right data, make the right decision, spend time to talk about it with the family. And I just want to end up, if I'm going to run for an office, in a place that I can actually make a meaningful difference and impact the quality of life of Angelenos or Californians. So I've got a lot of thinking to do, but I'm working on it.
Well, certainly you bring a tremendous positive spirit to everything that you do, and certainly you're an inspiration to the entire business community here. And how do you do it? How do you navigate all the red tape here? Trying to get LA to go from red tape to red carpet has been a struggle over the years, but you've attained tremendous success. You've been honored as Master Entrepreneur by the EY Entrepreneur of the Year Award organization, and certainly people turn to you for inspiration. Those who are all the small businesses who are still struggling out there. And what's your word of advice to keep going here in Los Angeles?
Listen, we live in the greatest region in the world. There's no doubt there's not a city better than Los Angeles, and it's so great because of the people of Los Angeles. We've got the smartest people, the most innovative people, whether it's in tech, whether it's in the arts, whether it's in building, whether it's in education. We have some of the greatest universities, some of the greatest medical centers. So that's what gives me so much hope and excitement. And California is an incredible state with the fourth largest economy in the world. We have an economy larger than Japan, larger than India. And can you imagine if you get the red tape and the bureaucracy out of the way of all of these people in the state of California that are entrepreneurs and innovators and working hard, just hard-working good people, this place will soar. The state will soar. We should be leading the nation. Los Angeles should be leading the nation. And so I'm always optimistic because I believe in the people. But we've got to get better leadership. And we've seen what failed leadership looks like. And we've seen the consequences of failed leadership. And it's devastating. And so hopefully people, forget about ideology and really start thinking about when they go in the voting booth. The old days, there was a voting booth. But when you go in the voting booth, you really think about core competency and qualifications to run a city, to run a state, to run a county. It's not an easy job, and you've got to be experienced to do it. And hopefully that's what's going to happen on these new elections, and we'll see some change.
You also had a connection to the LA DWP in your illustrious experience over the years, and a lot of people are still without water in the San Fernando Valley. How would you handle that situation if you were mayor at the moment?
Listen, you have the head of the water department that had an empty tank, 7 million gallons, that added to the disaster in the Palisades, and the mayor hasn't fired her. So you start by appointing the right people, hiring the right people that are qualified. She clearly isn't. And then you hold them accountable. And if they make a mistake like that, you fire them. It's simple as that. You send a message every time you hire somebody as an executive and every time you fire somebody. But you've got to have the ability to make executive decisions. Our mayor doesn't have that ability. We've seen that time and time again. So now you've got these cascading consequences because of the failure of leadership, and the poor residents are the ones that are paying the price for it. And this is where people need to get to the point of saying, we're not going to put up with this anymore. We're going to demand better. We deserve better. And better starts at the top, and then you hold the mayor, then you hold the city council responsible for actually appointing and hiring good people as department heads. This is an embarrassment for DWP. That was always known as the finest department of water and power in the country. It was the gold standard. And that leadership at the head of the department has just failed miserably.
Yeah, I just today drove on 6th Street next to that DWP facility, on 6th Street near Skid Row, which is fire-scarred and surrounded by homeless tents and encampments and people on the sidewalk. You don't even know if people are alive or dead on 6th Street anymore, approaching San Pedro Street. On that subject, Rick CARUSO, crime and homelessness, what is it going to take to turn things around?
It's going to take smart leadership. It's going to take somebody with some backbone. It's going to take somebody that's willing to make some decisions for the good of the people on the street, and many are dying on the street. I think it's an average of 5 or 6 people a day in Skid Row alone that die. 18,000 women in LA City are going to go to sleep tonight on the streets. How do we allow this? and then we're celebrating that we got 1,000 people off the street when there's 70,000, and they spent a couple $2 billion to do that. I mean, that just goes to show you, frankly, how warped the senses are of how you define success. How could that be success? That's an average of about $600,000 to $700,000 per person that you're celebrating you got off the street. So thank God we got 1,000. But remember, this mayor said her first year she'd have 17,000 off the street. So we've got to be smarter about it. We've got great organizations down there I talk about. And you know well, Union Rescue Mission doing incredible work. Downtown Women's Center doing incredible work. It's on and on. We need to empower those organizations, philanthropic organizations that are doing great work, getting people off the streets, giving them a new life, helping them with their addiction, helping them with their mental illness. And it cleans the streets, helps the community, helps the neighborhoods, and gives people a path forward. And that's what we should be celebrating. And we could do so much better, Frank. And as I always say, the city deserves better. The county deserves better. 70,000 homeless in LA County. I think it's the largest amount of homeless concentrated anywhere in the United States. That is nothing to be proud of or celebrate.
70,000, of course, is larger than the population, entire populations of most cities in the United States. The entire population of Beverly Hills, for example, is 35,000. So you have a huge city of homeless within the Los Angeles metropolitan area, and that includes children. Let's not forget about Para Los Niños for the children, the wonderful organization you've been supporting for many years there on Skid Row. It's heartbreaking to see the children there, as I saw again today on the streets.
Well, and you're right. And the number one growing population are families, and it's so sad. And that's why, listen, Tina and I for the last 30 years have been so committed to Para Los Niños, because it's taking in these beautiful young families with these kids, and it's putting them in an incredible environment and giving them an education, and it's safe and it's clean, and it's getting them on a path, no different than our support of Operation Progress of what we do on having these kids get the right education, the right mentorship, the right scholarship, so that they have a path in life. And they're doing incredible work. And the city should be embracing more of that, taking money that's just being wasted. I mean, there's this whole issue of billions of dollars are unaccounted for, which I can't even imagine, how incompetent can you be to lose track of billions of dollars? I mean, you've got to work really hard on your incompetency to figure that one out. And redirecting money to organizations that have a proven track record. And you'll have success at a fraction of the cost than what we're doing. But yeah, those organizations are incredible, and God bless them for the good work that they do.
That's wonderful. Rick Caruso, wish we had more time. As always, as we approach the end of the summer, we'll have an open line to you. We wish you and your wonderful family, and that includes Hudson, the golden retriever, a wonderful, restful weekend and beautiful weekend here in Southern California. Thank you very much for joining us live here this afternoon.
Always great being with you, Frank. Thank you for everything you do, and to everybody in L.A., have a great weekend. God bless you.
God bless you, sir. Thank you very much. Rick Caruso live with us here on 790 KABC. Mottek On Money continues, 790 KABC. Good afternoon. Winning day for the stock market today to close out a winning week, and a record-shattering day for the NASDAQ, closing up 207 points at 21,450. The Dow, coincidentally, also up 207 points, selling at 44,176, but it's still off its all-time high. The S&P 500 up nearly 50 points today, selling at 6,389, just a whisker below its record high. The price of gold moving higher this week, closing up $4.50 to $3,458.20 an ounce. Platinum pulling back about 13 at $1,341 and change. Silver up 22 cents at $38.51 an ounce. The price of oil pulling back this week down to 53 cents to $63.35 a barrel. Checking the cryptos now, we see Bitcoin up about 400 at 116,977. Ethereum is above 4,000, right now at 4,030. Solana at 178, and Doge at the moment at 23 cents. NVIDIA at a record high at nearly $2 at 182 and change. Apple getting another pop today at more than $9 at 229.35. We'll talk to tech analyst Daniel Ives here live in just a few moments on 790 KABC.
I am Michael Rosenbaum.
I am Tom Welling.
Welcome to Talkville,
where it's fun to talk about Smallville.
We're going to be talking to sometimes guest stars.
Are you liking the direction Lois is going in?
Yeah, because I'm getting more screen time.
It's good.
But mostly it's just me and Tom remembering.
I think we all feel like there was a scene missing here.
You got me, Tom.
Let's revisit it. Let's look at it. See what we remember.
See what we remember.
I had never been around anything like that before. I mean, it was so fun.
Talkville.
Talkville.
I just had a flashback.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Let's get into it.
Welcome to NFL Flag.
Are you ready? Yeah! Are you ready? Yeah!
No matter who you are, lace up your cleats, smear on your eye black, step out on the field and chase something. Chase a goal.
Let's get it!
Chase the big time.
Good job, ladies!
Chase rings. Chase gold medals. Chase all of it. It's all up for grabs now. NFL Flag. Chase something. Visit NFLflag.com to find a league and start the chase today.
Mottek On Money continues here, 790 KABC. The Magnificent One NVIDIA hitting record highs this week. Apple also coming to life, moving up nearly $10 at the bell today at $229 and change. Looks like the tech names got a big boost today after President Trump announced that he'll exempt companies from his planned semiconductor tariffs if they've committed to making their computer chips here in the USA. Following all this action very, very closely, including the Magnificent One and Apple, joining us now, the top tech analyst nowadays, and that would be Daniel Ives, Global Head of Technology Research at Wedbush Securities, which happens to be headquartered right here in Southern California. Daniel Ives, thank you very much for coming to the line this afternoon.
Great to be here, Frank.
Wonderful to have you with us. Give us your reaction to NASDAQ at a record high here today with the big names that you follow taking the lead.
I mean, look, this earnings season further validated the AI revolution. Strong numbers from tech across the board, especially when you think about cloud names, Microsoft, Amazon, Google. And that bodes well extremely for NVIDIA. That will be coming up, obviously, at the end of August. Look, and in my view, it's going to put fuel in the engine for this tech rally into the rest of the year.
On the air live with Dan Ives, and, of course, Tim Cook, the head of Apple, had that nice meeting at the White House this week and presented President Trump with a gift. And what about Apple here? You had an excellent write-up this week about Apple, and I see it's the headline here, 3 moves Cook and Cupertino need to make to avoid a BlackBerry moment in AI. What about AI and Apple and your reaction to the move in Apple stock this week?
I mean, look, this week it was important for Cook to play nice in the sandbox with Trump, especially when it comes to the $100 billion incremental investment. Obviously, the tariff relief for India and China, that's very important. But the elephant in the room is the AI revolution. It's passing by like an F1 driver in Monza, okay, in terms of big tech. Apple, Cook, is in a park bench drinking lemonade, watching it go by. So in my opinion, you got to do an acquisition. We believe Perplexity is the deal they need to do. You got to double down on the Google partnership. And I think you got to bring in some new management under Cook in terms of innovation. Look, you're talking about the best install base in the world. They need to get their really act together when it comes to AI.
Is NVIDIA going to buy Apple or vice versa?
Look, I don't think any of that. I believe Apple buys Perplexity. And NVIDIA, look, I think NVIDIA is going to be a $5 trillion market cap into next year. I mean, the point is, like, look, they're strong and stronger. Look at Meta, look at NVIDIA, look at Microsoft.
Very interesting.
And you contrast that with ones that are not on the other side of the AI.
What else caught your attention this week with so much going on the tech front, with the NASDAQ at an all-time high here at more than 200 points at 21,450, a record high here today?
Yeah. Look, I mean, I think the appetite continues to be there. I mean, tariffs, like I said, I think a lot of the tariffs, they're invisible ink or pencil. I think they'll get negotiated down. The street's kind of shrugging that off. And I think what's really important is the way the market's acting, despite the tariff overhang, that's signaling bullish signs going into not just into Labor Day, but I think into year end and even into early 26.
What other winners and losers do you see in all this? While the president also announced a tariff of about 100% on chips and semiconductors coming in from outside the U.S. Who's going to go by the wayside in that?
Look, Frank, there's a better chance of me playing in the Ryder Cup at Bethpage in September than that being 100% tariff. The point is, I think there's going to be massive carve-outs. That's why the street's shrugging off. You'll have some tariffs, but I don't think in any way this impedes the AI revolution with semis. I think it's a fly in the ointment, but it doesn't change the trade.
All right, what about crypto? We see Bitcoin hovering at around 116,000 here now. Ethereum, that's a big story here, above 4,000 for the first time in a while. What's your view of what's happening in the crypto space?
I mean, I told you, I think it's a bullish time for crypto given deregulatory. Ethereum, obviously, is very important in terms of 4,000 and getting there. And I think the path for Bitcoin is much higher. We've said you could be looking at 150, 200,000, right? I mean, you're seeing more and more institutional interest in crypto. And I think this is just an overall, it's a risk-on environment that we're seeing from tech to crypto. And tariffs are, going to play in terms, and we're going to see obviously Fed policy and geopolitical. But frankly, like I told you, I think it's a path to 7,000 S&P.
A lot of write-ups about gold or crypto as being a safe haven these days for people who are worried. What are your thoughts on that with gold hovering above 3,400 again this week?
No, we're bullish on that trade. I continue to think you're going to see, I wouldn't even say safety, but I think the path for gold and crypto is higher. And that's sort of our view. And I think it speaks to just a broader environment where you're seeing just more going toward equities, going toward crypto, and kind of, not, I'd say almost pauses or not really focused on, the debt markets.
All right. What about some crypto-related equities, and for that matter, gold miners too? But MicroStrategy, now known as Strategy, pulling back today in this rally, and of course we're watching the crypto miners as well as the gold miners, the analog gold miners. What are your thoughts on those?
Yeah, I mean, look, MicroStrategy bullish on in terms of everything that we're doing. As I view as a core crypto play. Obviously you have Conley, BMNR, which is really like an Ethereum play. See, I think you're going to see more and more ways to play it are going to be through some of these equities. And, I don't see that path changing given where we're going and given the broader investing environment.
All right, one big week after another. Anything that's on the radar screen for next week that you'll be watching?
I mean, look, some of the tariff, there'll be some sort of headlines about some of that. In terms of on the chip side, we could probably get more details there. Obviously pretty light from an earnings perspective. You're not going to have too much on video later in the month. But I think this is in August where we probably see the market, just continue to sort of drift higher. That's sort of our sense going for the next few weeks.
See it tonight, read about it tomorrow, but hear it now on Mottek On Money on 790 KABC, on the air with Daniel Ives, Global Head of Technology Research at Wedbush Securities, headquartered right here in Southern California. Daniel Ives, thank you very much for taking the call. We wish you a great weekend.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, Frank.
Thank you very much for joining us live here on 790 KABC.
YouTube personality Benny Johnson has cracked the code on a new era of newsmaking.
And we have some major members of the White House team that will be joining the program. I know it makes you uncomfortable. It makes me uncomfortable. But ladies and gentlemen, sometimes you just gotta dive right in and say, well.
It's a new cultural landscape.
This is the proper messaging. Thank you. Let's rock and roll.
The Benny Show. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KABC. Los Angeles area business groups focused on the firestorm recovery, rebuilding from this year's fire disaster in the Palisades, Malibu, and Altadena. Another important Build Up LA conference organized by the LA BizFed Institute is coming up next week in Culver City. And joining us live now is Kevin Harbour, the president of the BizFed Institute. Kevin Harbour, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
It's a pleasure to be here, Frank, and we're really happy and excited about what's going to happen with this exciting summit.
It's such an important discussion once again, and you've been leading the charge on this. Tell us what's planned for next week, and at the same time, give us an update on how the rebuilding effort is going from your vantage point.
Well, Frank, first of all, we've been at this for 7 years, and the way that we're going to approach this is we're going to get all the right stakeholders and people in the room that have made measurable success in chipping away at the obstacles and the issues that mitigate being able to operate the financial models and operate their building successfully. And the way we're going to do that is, first of all, we're going to bring in Chris Thornburg, managing partner of Beacon Economics. You're probably familiar with him. He's been on KTLA. He's on our board. But Chris is going to bring in research and data analysis, the facts. And he's going to do that in a way that really just gives us a roadmap on how we need to look at proceeding. One of our other speakers is Mayor Rex Richardson from Long Beach. He's also the chair of the LA Affordable Housing Solutions Agency, better known as La Casa. And their whole, premise is to make housing more affordable, help people stay in their house, and bringing together county, city, and community stakeholders under one umbrella to fund, build, and protect affordable housing. So, we're going to attack CEQA. We've made some progress there after more than a decade. The forces of housing won. So there were a few no votes, but effectively it's a non-issue now for urban residential development regarding CEQA. New apartment buildings, and it removes the single biggest impediment that affects the bottom line in terms of project management, expense costs, and it just almost ruins the whole financial model that's passed on to the consumer and the purchaser of homes. And then we're going to transition into clean energy, Frank, and there's a nexus between housing and energy, of course. You can't have a house without energy, right? And so we're going to dive into that, and we're going to look at the different energy choices and figure out how we're going to get to that 2045 mandate and the 2030 mandate of being 40% below 1990 emission levels. So all these crises intersect, and with people like Lennar, the builders, with Jennifer Hernandez and Rochelle Mills and Daddy Curtin of the California Conference of Carpenters, all these folks have strategies that they have implemented, and they're going to share success stories so we can reach consensus, collaborate, and share resources on moving this forward. And on the energy side, we have Shamika Dixon of Grid to talk about solar power and how that's going to really help reduce carbon footprint. And Dorn Barnes, CEO of Foothill Transit, mass transit and trucking, that they're responsible for a lot of emissions. Well, Dorn has a very great, a unique story and a great story to tell on what he's doing to reduce emissions with his fleet. Angelina Galateva, CEO of Arches. Aaron Brooks, Director of Customer Energy Solutions for SoCal Gas. You'd be surprised if SoCal Gas is moving forward. They're being aggressive with renewable natural gas, and then Arches with hydrogen technology. And you put all this together, and you have now an ability to affect change because all these folks are decision makers. And Frank, this is going to convene this limited space next Wednesday, August 13th, at the Sheraton, and you can go on our website, BizFed Institute, and look under upcoming events and get registered because, again, space is limited. We need you folks there. We need you to hear about it. We need you to know that, we're not going to have any more permitting issues and permitting delays because we're bringing in elected officials and city managers and all those folks that make decisions on how to get this thing fixed. We've been at it too long, And we're just excited about the team we have and the folks that we have speaking.
Fantastic. Kevin Harbour is with us, the president of BizFed Institute. That's going to be happening at the Sheraton in Culver City next week. I see you have Matt Horton there, too, vice president and policy at the LAEDC. And just yesterday, I had the honor of seeing you at the State of LA business event that was organized by the LA Area Chamber of Commerce, which, by the way, is part of the Los Angeles Business Federation, which is a confederation of all the chambers of commerce and business groups here in Los Angeles. How did you come away from that big conference on the state of LA business?
Well, I'm encouraged. Frank, because we had the right people in the room. We had the CEO of Metro. We had the folks from LA Tourism, SoFi. Matt Horton has been with us for 7 years. In fact, he's the individual that was one of the co-creators of the Housing Forum. So we get all the right people in the room, and we talk about what we need to do to make our city and our region better. Because at the end of the day, it's about quality of life, and at the end of the day, it's about us sharing information, not working in silos, and that's what yesterday's event was all about. Maria Salinas is a visionary, happy to be there to support her, happy to see you doing a great job emceeing the event there, Frank. And, just proud of the work that we're doing and the way we're moving together as a city and region.
That's so wonderful. Well, thank you for that. And certainly want to support all of your efforts. And for anyone that's interested in attending that big conference next week, tell us how people get more information about that and not miss it.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So go on our website, www.bizfed, BIZFED, Institute, just like it sounds, .org. Click on upcoming events, right? You'll see our event. We have 4 coming up. You'll see that's the first one next Wednesday. Click on it. You can get tickets. You need to do it right away because there's limited seating and people are starting to pile in now. We already were near capacity. So if you don't get in right now, we can't guarantee you access. But please reach out as soon as possible, or you can even contact me at kevin.harbour@bizfedinstitute.org. Last name spelled HARBOUR @bizfedinstitute.org, and we'll get you guys squared away.
Kevin Harbour, president of the BizFed Institute, thank you very much for taking the call live with us here this afternoon.
Frank, always a pleasure. Looking forward. Great job, and thank you for having us.
Thank you very much, and best of luck with the event next week, and we'll look forward to updates. We lost an American hero today, folks, the hero of Apollo 13, astronaut, U.S. Navy Captain Jim Lovell, 4-time spaceflight veteran, who had famously said, "Houston, we had a problem," after the oxygen tank explosion occurred in his Apollo spacecraft service module on April 13th, 1970. On the flight, literally, Commander Lovell and his crewmates, along with Mission Control in Houston, had to deal with the near-fatal situation and improvise emergency procedures to ultimately return to Earth safely. The NASA flight director was Gene Kranz, who declared failure as not an option. Commander Lovell was the NASA astronaut with the most time in space when he commanded Apollo 13. He later described his experience on Apollo 13 as a successful failure. Commander Lovell was honored at the Living Legends of Aviation Gala in Beverly Hills some years ago. It was a tremendous honor to see him on that occasion. He departed today at the age of 97. I'll be back again on Monday afternoon at 4 here on 790 KABC.
I'm Paula Pan. I help people make the smartest money decisions possible because, let's face it, money's too important to wing it.
What you'll hear is a couple money geeks sitting and talking about this stuff that we're so passionate about.
You name it. Anything that's on your mind. Retirement, debt, student loans, saving for college.
It's a personal finance journey. It is a wide-ranging squirrel conversation about the topic of personal finance and good financial planning. Super fun.
Afford anything. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.